Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. It's Sunday or Lord's Day, as we Christians like to call it, because Jesus rose from the dead on the first day of the week. So the Jewish Sabbath day was moved to Christian Sabbath day. Jewish Sabbath is on Saturday. Christian Sabbath is on Sunday. And Christians for 2,000 years have preached that when Jesus came, the Old Testament prophecies about the Messiah, HaMashiach, was fulfilled in Jesus Christ. So whereas Old Testament has circumcision, New Testament has baptism as a covenant, as a new covenant. So the Old Testament is Old Covenant, New Testament is New Covenant. So many Christians do not baptize their children because circumcision is no longer necessary as a sign of the covenant when Jesus came. Baptism is. So we read that in the Gospels. So you're like, if you go to Europe, because there are a lot of Christian countries, nobody gets circumcised. Um, in America, I guess there was this period where they thought circumcision can be a healthy thing. There's a health issue. Um, there are different debates regarding that, and that's why there's circumcision in hospitals. But even in America, there are people who refuse circumcision. But in Europe, generally nobody gets circumcised because circumcision is a kind of like a ritual ceremony that's religious, and with the Old Testament gone, circumcision is no longer necessary. But if you want circumcision, you get it. There's no reason why you can't get a circumcision. But it's no longer necessary from a religious angle because starting from a New Testament period, at least for Christians, um, it's baptism that is the sign of the covenant, the new covenant. And so the idea is that the old covenant of Abraham has become extinct, nullified, and voided. And then the new covenant with Jesus has become the real covenant. And so Christians talk about the New Testament as being the testament that guides Christian living. And Old Testament obviously is important because it's still the Bible, but Old Testament looked towards the Jesus Christ who has to come. And the New Testament basically is the guide for all Christians until the second coming of Jesus. And so today is Sunday. Many of you went to church and heard sermons about the new covenant. If you had a mass or baptism, they probably recited from the Holy Bible about the new covenant, side of the new covenant. Baptism, that's what it is. Um, African American culture in America is very Christian culture, and Jesus is very loved and adored in African American communities throughout America. So if you went to an African American church today, you probably heard songs like the songs that you're hearing in the background. African American culture has become synonymous with like a Black gospel culture, um, and it's a beautiful culture. Some say that African American spiritual is even better than African spiritual. Africans are devout Christians, many of them, and they have their spiritual traditions. But some people say that Black gospel in America has become perfected and is superior to Black music from other continents, even including Africa, from where African Americans originally came. It's a distinctive cultural value, right? African American gospel music. It has been perfected over hundreds of years in America's Black churches. These are living testimonies to Black Christian devotion and love for Jesus. Today is Sunday, so many of you probably went to church and worship. And on Sundays, Koreans generally go to Korean church, blacks generally go to black churches, whites go to white churches, Vietnamese people go to Vietnamese churches, Filipinos go to Filipino church. You know, most ethnic groups in America worship with their own ethnic group. It's just the way that is, and there's nothing wrong with it. People have their preferences, it's not wrong to want to eat your own food, kind of lay your guard down and be comfortable in your own culture, whether you're Filipino American or Korean American or Black American or White American, it doesn't matter. People don't always feel comfortable around other races or other cultures. And there's no rule that says you have to always feel comfortable around all the races in the world. There'll be a dictatorship, right? People have freedom to have preferences. So, if black people want to worship with black people, that's great. If Kenyans want to worship with Kenyans, that's great. If Koreans want to worship with Koreans, great. If Arabic Christians want to speak Arabic and worship with Arabic Christians, great. There are a lot of Latino churches in Arlington County where they only speak Spanish. So, if Latinos want to get together and worship with Latinos, that's great. You know, 7 days you work hard and you mix with different races in your workplace. On Sunday, it's not wrong for you to want to worship and feel comfortable and lay your guard down and speak language that you may be more comfortable with if you're an immigrant, and cultural traditions that you may feel far more comfortable with, food that you like. There's nothing wrong with that. I think there's a power to Latinos wanting to worship as Latinos on Sundays, or Black Christians wanting to worship as Black Christians and to preserve Black culture. Because in churches, a lot of the cultures are preserved. Like Filipino Americans worship in Filipino churches on Sunday, and there's a Filipino American culture that is preserved in these churches. Um, and it's a beautiful thing. I don't think anybody should take that away from ethnic minorities. And being multicultural means you have the right to celebrate your own distinctive culture or ethnic identity, and that you have the right to celebrate it. You have the right to uh, to express it and enjoy it. Right? That's what multiculturalism is. It used to be like 50 years ago that America emphasized this melting pot. Everybody had to become American. You have to give up your own culture. But that is a colonialist model that has been abandoned, and rightly so. Why should you abandon your own Guatemalan tradition and culture just because you're in America, right? Nobody has the right to force you to be called American and abandon your Guatemalan culture, right? And so, same with Black culture. Why should Blacks give up their own distinctive Black American cultural identity? Because there is such thing as a Black culture, African American culture. Some people want to say, well, there's no such thing as African American culture. Everybody's American. And they're denying Black Americans their own identity, their group identity, their cultural heritage. And that's not right, right? Um, there are Korean churches in Arlington. They worship in Korean. Like you go to United Methodist Church of Arlington, near Marymount University. They worship in Korean. Everything is in Korean. It's United Methodist Church, and church members there have lived in America for 50 years. In their workplace, they speak fluent English. These elderly people, some of them work for FBI, CIA, Homeland Security. They might not have had Homeland Security back then, but NSA, U.S. military, defense, Pentagon, but they feel comfortable worshiping in Korean. And there are a lot of people in the Pentagon who prefer to worship in a Korean church in Korean. And there are Latinos in the Pentagon who prefer to worship in a Latino church in Spanish. There are FBI agents, CIA agents, Homeland Security agents, NSA agents, U.S. Marshals who want to worship in Spanish in a Latino evangelical church. And you don't have the right to take that away from them. They have the right under the First Amendment to worship wherever they want. And so there are people out there who are like, make you try to make you feel guilty if you worship in a Spanish-speaking Latino church. It's like, why can't you be more American? You have like liberal progressives who want to just like colonize you. And as I'm a very conservative Christian. Um, and I think that you have the right to celebrate your culture. You know, God gave us different cultures, and it's a beautiful thing. And I celebrate multiculturalism in America. No one has the right to say, stop going to Hispanic church and speaking Spanish. Speak English. You're in America. You can't say that. I've actually heard people, liberal, progressive, white, liberal, progressive Democrats say that to Koreans, to me even. You know, um, when I was growing up, they're like, "You're in America now. This is a country where everybody is part of America, and it's a melting pot. You're an American." And I'm like, "But I feel comfortable being a Korean American. Why do I have to be just American?" But liberal progressivism can be a dangerous thing. They want to say everybody's equal, and you know. So for them, being equal means like losing your distinctive identity, your cultural identity, and that's why I don't like liberal progressives. This is why I've never joined Democratic Party. The Democratic Party wants you to be like homogenized into like one big blob that's called American, whatever that is. And if you don't join that, then you're not really American. I think that's a racist thing to say. And I consider white liberal Democrats the most racist people in the world. Because they try to destroy your culture, they try to destroy your ethnic identity. They just want to homogenize everything into like a white culture. Like if you don't join this white liberal culture, then like you're not American. And so I resent white Democrats trying to make you like them. I'm like I like being Korean American. There are 100 different countries represented in Arlington County. They all enjoy like being Ethiopian American or Eritrean American or Vietnamese American or Filipino American. I mean, who are these white liberal Democrats? What right do they have to come and tell us that we have to be like them? You know what I mean? Mark Kim, I'm sure you agree with me. Mark Kim is the Virginia delegate from, you know, uh, Vienna, um, Virginia. So he goes to the, Washington or Virginia House, as a representative of Vienna. A lot of Koreans live in Vienna. A lot of Korean churches in Vienna, they only speak Korean. I mean, they have like English speaking congregation, but the main worship service is like in Korean, and some of them who attend there are fluent in English, but they prefer them. And who's to say that they don't have the right, their ethnic identity, cultural identity, just because they're fluent in English? Why should you require them to go to like a white liberal church, United Methodist Church down the street? That's not right. You know, if they want to speak in Korean, eat Korean food, socialize in a Korean cultural way, more power to them. That's what multiculturalism is. And so, I have a problem with this colonialism in white Democratic Party. They want everybody to look alike, act alike, think alike, and it's wrong. I would say it's wrong because you're trying to commit cultural genocide of 100 different nations in Arlington County by trying to force them to become like white liberal Democrats. And it's not right. And we need to resist it and fight it in Arlington County. Every ethnic group, you have the right to speak Arabic, in Arabic churches and celebrate it. Teach your children Arabic. You have a right to teach your children Spanish and speak in Spanish in Hispanic churches. You have that right. There's no right for people to try to destroy your identity. So you're right. Your identity is protected under the First Amendment. So if people try to do that, bring that to court, sue them under civil rights violations, put them in prison because that's where they belong. These white liberal Democrats who want to destroy your Korean culture or Black culture or Hispanic culture. You know, um, you know, you have the right to your identity, and these white Democrats and Joe Biden does not have the right to steal that and try to colonize you according to like white Democrat liberal ideology. They don't have that right. So yes, take them to court. As you know, I'm running for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District. That's Arlington, Alexandria Falls, Church of Fairfax County. And I want to be your congressman in the year 2022, November 8th. So vote for me. And as you know, I'm conservative. I've been a lifelong Republican because I believe that Republicans respect multiculturalism far more than Democrats do. And I have positive proof to prove it. Um, and I've run as an independent for 2020 election, but because of COVID-19, things kind of got messed up. I still have, over a year to decide whether I run as an independent or with the Republican primaries for 2022 election, because primaries are going to be probably in March, for March of year 2022. So I have over a year to think about it. So I'm kind of running now as a candidate, but I'll decide probably January 1st whether I run as a, maybe a little bit earlier, whether I run as a Republican primary candidate or continue to run as an independent. So yeah, stay tuned. Yeah, this is going to be an exciting race. I'm running against Tom Bayer, the current congressman, but I'll happily send him to his early retirement on November 8, 2022. Yeah, but I champion First Amendment. Anybody who tried to destroy your identity, put them in prison by using civil rights law. That's my motto. No, no, my motto is actually bring America back to God. But I will fight for your civil rights to preserve your individual and group identity. So if you have any problem with the liberal Democrats trying to force you to like abandon your Spanish culture or Mexican culture or Guatemalan culture and become like American, white American, according to like white democratic model of what America should be, just email me. Let's fight this thing together. Let's put them in prison. Put them in prison. Lock her up. Lock her up. Lock her up. Lock her up. You remember, uh, you know, uh, election 2018, 2016. Lock her up. About Hillary Clinton. All the Republicans want to lock up Hillary Clinton. You know what I mean? She should be locked up, in my opinion. But you can't always get what you want. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if I had my way, I'd lock up Hillary Clinton and throw away the key. Can I get a 5 on that? Lock her up. Lock her up. Lock her up. um, yeah, today is, go for a ride day. Are you planning to go for a ride on Thanksgiving? Yeah, some of you are. I'm not going to go home for Thanksgiving because I don't want to give my parents COVID. I don't have COVID, but I don't know. You never know. I don't want to take that risk. I don't want to be the reason why my mom and dad ends up dead before Christmas. So I'm not gonna go home for Thanksgiving. Yeah, I mean, you can't be too cautious in COVID-19 America, in my opinion. But as I said, you do what you want. You're not a slave. I just don't want to go home for Thanksgiving to my parents and possibly pass on COVID-19. I don't have COVID, but you know, nobody really knows how COVID is. COVID can travel in my clothing. Who knows? COVID may travel in my car. I don't know, right? I don't know. Nobody really knows how COVID spreads. Um, but one thing is sure, COVID is spreading like wildfire in America. So I wouldn't want my car even near my parents' home. As you know, I work as a nurse at Virginia Hospital Center, and I'm working hard to save your life and your children's lives. And I created this show to save your life and your children's life because I believe that your life is important and your children's life is important. And those of you who've been following along and watching this show since April 2nd, 2022, some of you have your life saved because you've taken the recommendations I've given in this show. So some of you are willing to risk your life to protect the show. I understand. And some of you are deeply grateful and thankful that this show exists so that you can get guidance. I know, even if you're a card carrying Democrat, I know you don't believe the liberal media because you believe that liberal Democrats are not giving you the full truth. It's like you're part of the Washington swamp and you don't believe them. I know many of you Democrats, even out there in Arlington, Alexander Falls Church of Fairfax County, you don't believe in Joe Biden. You don't support him. I understand them. Personally, you just don't like them. He's not a really likable guy, Joe Biden. He like rubs everybody the wrong way. I personally don't like Joe Biden, and I understand why even Democrats don't like Joe Biden. He wasn't actually a favor to win the Democratic nomination, as you know, because a lot of people didn't like Joe Biden, but somehow it worked out that way. But you know, what can you do? Life is like that, right? Um, who knows? Maybe God had Joe Biden win, so there could be an epic conflict between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, right? I mean, the conflict would not have been the same because Joe Biden was Obama's vice president, right? So there's like history there with Trump. So I think for Trump, it's far more personal to be running against um, Joe Biden than against any other candidate just because of history. So there's a lot of emotion. So maybe God wanted us to be entertained with Donald Trump and Joe Biden fighting each other. And you can guarantee that this is happening from top all the way down, meaning like it's happening not only in the White House level with Donald Trump and Vice President Pence, um, but it's happening like all the way down to the working class, like in giant food store, uh, Walmart warehouse. You can guarantee there's a conflict between Trump supporters and Biden supporters from top down. This is happening all over the United States of America in all 50 states. There's an intense hatred of Biden by Trump supporters, and there's intensive hatred of Trump by Biden supporters. So it's a mutually shared hatred against each other. And so, I mean, Biden supporters, tagged Trump for 4 years, and you can guarantee Trump supporters are gonna return the favor for the next 4 years. I mean, that's 100% guaranteed. We live in America. Don't expect Trump supporters to roll over and play dead for you. You know what I mean? This is America. We don't live in China. Maybe in China they will roll over and play dead for you, but this is America. Americans have pride and they have self-respect. And because of their pride and self-respect, they're not going to play dead and roll over for you. So you can guarantee like 70 to 100 million people just like fighting Biden every day for the next 4 years if he wins. I mean, he hasn't technically won yet. I believe that President Trump can still win. But let's see. I'm just being fair here. A recount is part of the American election process. So let's give recount a chance. Let's not draw premature, conclusions. Um, yeah. But some of you may be going for a ride on Thanksgiving. Hey, if you want to go home for Thanksgiving, more power to you. I just think it's a little bit dangerous, but yeah, um, yeah, we're continuing on with uh, you know, bachelor in Poland. As you know, I went to Poland in 2019 for European Association for Biblical Studies conference and presented my latest research on Jewish studies. As you know, I'm an expert of Jews. Yes, if there's a war between Jews and Christians, the Vatican will call me to give them advice on how to beat the Jews. Or if the United States ever went to war with Israel, it can happen. Who knows? Anything could happen in history. Then the U.S. Congress and U.S. Senate will call me, possibly, because I'm one of the leading experts of Jews, to give them guidance on how to beat the Jewish state of Israel and Jewish diasporas throughout the world. If there's a war, World War III type of a war where Israel allies themselves with China and then U.S. fights China and Israel, they're the Axis power. In that case, the National Security Council may take me on as a consultant, FBI, CIA, Homeland Security. You never know. We're in the United States of America. This is not Israel. We're not the Jewish state. So war can start between United States and any country in the world, right? Pakistan, India, China, Russia, Israel. I don't rule Israel out. I'm a U.S. citizen. Um, And I don't see Israel as United States. Israel has its own self-interest that they pursue. United States of America has our own interest that we pursue. Many Democrats don't want the capital of Israel in Jerusalem. They don't recognize it. Joe Biden doesn't recognize it. They want the capital in Tel Aviv because they respect Palestinian rights to self-determination. So, um, if Joe Biden were to win, uh, that could become an issue of conflict. Um, and yeah, I mean, Democratic Party is not pro-Israel. Liberals tend to be very anti-Israel. There's a movement right among liberals now throughout the world to boycott Israel because they say Jews stole land from Palestinians, and that's a very liberal trend. And many people in Arlington agree with that. I wouldn't be surprised if Don Barr agrees with that. It's you can't call yourself truly a liberal if you are pro-Israel. I mean, every liberal knows this. You could ask anybody who's a liberal because um, in the liberal circles, um, it's assumed and it's held to be a fact that Jews stole Palestine from the Arabs and displaced 3 million Palestinians after they stole their land and occupied, they call it occupation. And no card carrying liberal supports Israel. That's just a fact, this is true at Harvard University, Yale University, University of Pennsylvania. You can never call yourself a true liberal if you're pro-Israel. Um, yeah, this is like a standard liberal line. Israel is a colonialist power that stole land from a people who lived there for 2,000 years. And they used European colonialist power to steal land from people, who lived there for 2,000 years, Palestinians. So all the liberals want, they want reparation for Israel occupying Israel. That's the word they use. They want reparation for um, for the historical wrongs committed against the Palestinian people. And there's movement right now throughout the world where they want reparations paid in cash by the Israeli government to the state of Palestine. The United Nations supports that, obviously, because the United Nations believes that Israel is a colonialist power that usurped property, private property, stole private property from Palestinian people. So that's the official line of the United Nations. That's the official line of England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Denmark, Sweden, Switzerland, Holland. You name the country in Europe. Every country believes that to be a complete and absolute fact. So all I'm saying is it's possible for there to be a war between Israel and Europe, war to be between Israel and United States, changing depending on who the administration is. Obviously, if the United States go to war with Israel, I mean, are you going to start side with Israel? You know what I'm saying? So I'm an expert of Jews. If the United States go to war with Israel, then obviously, they will call me in to see how we can quickly and effectively destroy Israel in the shortest time possible because I'm an expert of Jewish studies. I could turn it down if they ask me to give them advice on that. I could say, well, I don't want to, but I could also give them advice. I am a U.S. citizen. If there's a World War III with China and Israel allied together against the United States and England, should I just keep my mouth shut and have a prolonged war, or give them desperate advice that will end the war very quickly? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's what an expert does. An expert knows the weaknesses and strengths of what they are studying. Um, yeah. So I'm a certified card-carrying expert, recognized by all the experts of Jewish studies around the world, including the United States. I'm a card-carrying expert of the Association for Jewish Studies, which has all the experts of Jewish studies in America. Yeah, Jews who teach 90 over 90% Jewish ethnically. I'm one of the few non-Jews who's a member, and they're all like professors of Jewish studies, rabbis in synagogues, you know, who might call colleagues and colleagues in Jewish studies. I'm an expert. That is just a statement of fact that cannot be denied in the court of law. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, it's just an incontrovertible fact. I'm an expert of the Jews. So you can go to bank on that. But anyway, you know, um, this is, so I gave a paper on Jewish studies at University of Warsaw, which is the Harvard of Poland, where all the European experts of Jewish studies are gathered once a year. And I'm sure all of them are watching this show. Hi, fellow experts of Jewish studies teaching in European top universities who set the agenda for what anti-Semitism is and what Jewish studies is. Yeah, they define it in every single country in Europe. Um, yeah, so yeah, I'm going to be glad to be part of the network. you know, mi casa, tu casa, mi casa, tu casa. Yeah, most of the European experts of Jewish studies are like Catholic priests or like Protestant clergy or Orthodox clergy. If you go to like Greece or Russia, they're all like lovers of Jesus. Isn't that funny? They're like experts of Jewish studies who define what anti-Semitism is in Europe, in their countries. Yeah, that's the irony of it. What can you do? It's a numbers game. There's just more Christians. There are only 12 million Jews in the world. And even if all of them are experts of Jewish studies, there won't be enough. You know what I mean? You think about all the churches, all the pastors, they have to go to seminary and study Jewish studies. It's like a mandatory requirement for every single Christian seminary because Old Testament is part of Christian canon, the Christian Bible. So every Christian clergy, has studied Jewish studies at length, as a part of their formal training. Yeah. How are you gonna outnumber all the Christian priests? All the Jesuit priests, or the Dominican priests, or the Franciscan priests, the Baptist priests, preachers, Presbyterian preachers, all the African American preachers. It's a numbers game, baby. It's a numbers game, baby. Can I get a 5 on a numbers game? It's a numbers game. There's no way you will win. Just saying, just saying. Numbers game, baby. Why do you think Jews get annihilated every like few hundred years in the world? Because they think like they're more powerful than they think they are. You know what I mean? They overreach. They overreach. They get annihilated because everybody gets pissed. And they get, screw it. Everybody just got pissed. And just, how, some people are like really nice and then like you like aggravate them really long and they're like, they have like nothing to do with it. They turn their back on you and like you don't speak to them for like years. Have you had experience like that? Like they say that's a WASP nature, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant nature. They're really nice, but if you piss them off enough, man, it's like hell have no fury like white Anglo-Saxon Protestant wrong. You know what I'm saying? WASP wrong. They call them wasps for a reason. They sting like a wasp. Yeah, but anyhow, I call them my in group. All these wasp Protestants that I grew up with. Yeah, I went to a Philmont Christian Academy. That's like a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, like a school. Yeah, but yeah, like a lot of Presbyterians are white. You know what I mean? Every missionary who came to Korea to proselytize us were white, from Scotland, Northern Ireland, and United States, and South Africa. But anyway, that's what a lot of the Presbyterians are, and Australia and New Zealand. Um, Yeah, so we have 925 COVID-19 deaths reported right now. Obviously Sunday, so people are kind of lazy about reporting it. People go to church, 100 million Americans go to church every Sunday. So 100 million, there's only 12 million Jews in the world. Do the math. Just in the United States, 100 million people go to church. And they're all like, they follow the New Testament, if you know what I mean. Just read through John, Gospel of John. Um, yeah, give me five. I'm going to church on Sunday. Give me five. I'm going to church on Sunday. Yeah, so 925 people have died in the United States of America, but it's probably more. Just people are reporting it later. This is Sunday. There are 12,219,446 cases. And then, there are 256,725 deaths. That's a quarter million Americans who died, which is really, really sad. And the United States is right now number one for COVID-19 death. Um, yeah, India is number two for COVID-19 death. So it's possible that some of Americans who are immigrants from India have relatives in India who died. And you know, obviously that is going to continue, and it's highly likely that as United States have millions of deaths, India will have also have millions of deaths. You see, it's all the countries are kind of suffering together, right? Kind of maintaining similar ratios, although some countries start having more death. So India is 133,227 deaths so far. Brazil is number three. Is a great Christian nation. The whole country is Christian. I rest my case. I mean, geez, the whole country is Christian. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but Brazil is 6,052,786. I mean, how many Jews are in Brazil? There are Jews in Brazil. For those of you who are interested in Jewish studies, as you know, I'm an expert of Jewish studies. There are Jews in Brazil, and there are Latinos in America, and there are Jewish Latinos, Jews from Latin America. There are Korean Latinos too, Koreans from Latin American countries. Um, but very few. There are very few Korean Latinos. There are very few Jewish Latinos. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah. There may be more Korean Latinos than Jewish Latinos though, because there are a lot of immigrants um, in. Oh, this is such a nice song. Oh, sweet the sound. A lot of people became converted to Christianity through this song. Just hearing it, thinking about it. Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of you out there know that you're a wretch. You're like, you're a mess. You're a mess. And a lot of you are like, I want to accept Jesus so I don't become a mess anymore. And many of you have accepted Jesus because you were a mess. Let's be honest here. Like when Christianity came to Korea, it saved Koreans. Korea's called mess. Like husbands used to go and get drunk every night, and after Christianity came and converted the husbands, they stopped going out every night after work and getting drunk. They start coming home and having family devotions with their wife and children. It just completely revolutionized South Korea. From like fathers who like drink themselves to a stupor every night after work. And this is like Korean Buddhist culture, that has become secularized and the Christianity came in, and then fathers no longer go drinking, because Korean Christianity, they say don't drink. That's been part of the evangelicalism has impacted Korea. So most Korean Christians do not drink. You know, um, Drinking is very frowned upon in Korean churches, and church leaders are expected not to drink alcohol, like regardless of denomination. Um, and so the husbands at their work, instead of going drinking with their co-workers, no longer do that, and that started decades ago. So many Korean women at that time saw such a radical change in their husbands. And and many of the husbands sing this song. They're like, Jesus found me, and I found my family again. And they didn't realize that they what they were missing out on when they're going after work to get drunk to stupor with their coworkers every day. Basically, during workday for 365 days a year. It's their culture. It used to be Korean culture. Now it changed a lot because of a lot of Koreans became Christians who don't drink. And 25% of Korea is Christian. So you can imagine how much has changed in Korea. Maybe more now. In America, more like 80, 90% of Koreans in America are Christian. But in Korea, in the country of Korea, it's a Buddhist nation. Been so for 5,000 years. About 25, 30% are Christians. Rest are Buddhists, obviously. Yeah. Um, yeah. But Brazil is 100% Christian, not like Korea. It's a Christian country. Korea is still kind of a Buddhist country. France is also a Christian country. 2,191,180 people have gotten COVID, and they have 48,807 people died. Did you know that anti-Semitism is the strongest in France right now, they say? And France has the most number of Jews in Europe. So Jews in France are immigrating to America, escaping violent anti-Semitism in France. I mean, there are neighbors like attacking Jews in France, in some neighborhood. That's been happening for the last few decades. If you're keeping up with it, and whether they're physically violently attacked or not, some Jews are getting fired from their jobs or not given business deals. Anti-Semitism is growing in France just out of nowhere. There's a lot of French Jews are escaping, and this could happen in America too. Out of nowhere it can happen. It's just, Talmud talks about this. Talmud, if you read the Talmud, which is a Jewish religious text that's like thousands of years old, they talk about this phenomena. So it's nothing new. Nothing is new under the sun. Russia, as you know, is a Christian nation. 2,071,858 people have gotten COVID, and 35,838 people have died. Russia, they say, killed far more people than Nazi Germany. They say Russia killed something like 12 million Jews. Nobody knows. The reason that nobody knows is that Russians don't keep a record like Germans do. Because Germans are very meticulous about keeping records, so we have records. But Russians, they send people to Gulag and they throw away like all the documents. So you're like, huh? How many are in Gulag Archipelago? Where the prison system in Russia, right? Because Russia became a socialist government, so they became very secretive. Like China is like that. Like a lot of Russian Jews were killed during the pogroms in 1880s. Pogroms are like Russian citizens start killing their own Jewish neighbors. Yeah, and co-workers, their boyfriends, the boyfriend's parents. So this violently started in 1880, and we call that Russian pogroms. So that at that period, a lot of people immigrated to America, Russian Jews, to escape this kind of gratuitous violence and killing. That's the only way they could survive because their neighbors were killing them, right? And they don't know which neighbor will do that and which Jew will die next. They never knew. So they left all their wealth behind. They took whatever they can and just fled. This was in 1880s, 1890s. There were several waves of Russian Jewish pogroms where Jews were being killed by their neighbors. Like their neighbors who they've been friends with for 40 years suddenly start killing them. And Jews didn't understand why that was happening. But things like this happen throughout Jewish history for 2,000 years. It's not just in Russia, but Russia is a recent memory. Obviously, in Nazi Germany, Jews went to concentration camps because their neighbors who they knew for 40 years called police to stop on them. So it's a different form. In Germany, the neighbors did not kill the Jews; they just called the police, and the police arrested them. And German culture is very ordered, and so they kind of have this, in a very Germanic fashion, right? But in Russia, it was a little bit different. It was very violent, and the police turned the other way. If the police turned the other way, what are you going to do? Right? Call 911. The police car comes by, and then they drive off. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? So that's what happened in Russia. And police officers were killing their Jewish neighbors too. So it was like a nationwide effort in Russia that just happened out of nowhere. So law is what? The law is a contract of the people. If nobody wants to keep the law, it has no value. If every citizen decides not to keep a law, then that law has no value. And you can't force 100% of citizens to keep the law, right? And that's what happened in Russia in the pogroms. Like Gentiles start killing their Jewish neighbors. Something must have pissed them off. What I mean? Maybe they'll attack an innocent man. That always pisses people off. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, but anyway, they started killing their neighbors that they've known for like 40, 50 years out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And they were doing it like with knives and axes and so it was more painful way to die, than being shot to death. They were like beaten to death. Um, yeah, and then it was primarily motivated by hatred. And then they sold the stuff that's his own, afterthought, Um, so yeah, so they say millions of Jews died that way, and then Jews thought, well, maybe with the socialist Bolshevik revolution, Jews can be protected. So a lot of young, intelligent Jewish men, mostly, joined the Bolshevik revolution and the socialist. So Trotsky was one of the founding, like top leadership of the Bolshevik revolution, and you can read about it in Animal Farm. And as soon as the Bolshevik Revolution succeeded, the socialists took power. The very first thing they did is start killing Jews. Can you believe that? Jews were among the top leadership of the socialists, and most Jews supported it because of the pogroms they suffered under the Cossacks. But they were stabbed in the back. After all the brilliance and energy and effort they spent to get the Bolshevik Revolution to succeed, Bolsheviks, they annihilated Jews. Like all the Jews in top leadership of the Socialist Party, uh, they were killed. Trotsky was killed. You can read about the Animal Farm, right? Um, so yeah, they said Russia, USSR, they say they killed anywhere from 6 million to 12 million USSR. Nobody knows because Russia did it secretly. It's a socialist state. It's like in Argentina when the socialists were in power. Journalists disappeared. Nobody knows where they went. They were killed by the socialist power. Nobody kept the record. Um, so I mean, there are different things that happen throughout history, but they say, far more people died. Jews died in Russia. It's just that they didn't keep a record, and they burned the records and tried to hide the fact and lied about it. They're like, nobody died. You know, nobody went to Gulag Archipelago. And that's why, there's not much discussion about what happened uh, in Soviet USSR with the Jews. Yeah, and yeah, it's an interesting part in history, but yeah, it's tragic. It's probably far more tragic than Nazi Germany. Can you imagine like your neighbors actually, like at least in Nazi Germany, they just call 911. So you don't know whether your neighbor supported you or opposed you. So you go on believing like, oh, my neighbors still love me. So you have that part of you. Maybe my neighbors didn't call the Gestapo on me, right? So you can go to your gate thinking you have friends. But in Russia, your neighbors and your friends came and killed you. So can you imagine the emotional trauma with the physical trauma of being beaten to death? It's a mental and psychological. It's a suffering in every way to be betrayed like that by your closest friends who've been your friends for 40 years. Can you imagine what you probably like asking Lama, Lama. Lama means why in Hebrew. It's not like llamas, like those relaxing llamas, that you like pet and you feel relaxation. No, lama in Hebrew means like, why, lama, lama. You know, can you imagine? Like if your Gentile neighbors in Arlington, Alexandria Falls, Church and Church, like County suddenly became like Kosovics, Cossacks, would you understand it? Would you be able to comprehend why that happened? You see what I'm saying? So just put yourself in the minds of Jews living in Russia in 1880, where their neighbors, people they've been friends with for 40, 50 years, shared all kinds of experiences and memories, turned on them and beat them to death. These things happen. Like, even with Julius Caesar, do you remember Julius Caesar? His best friend, Brutus, was one of the senators who stabbed him to the death. If you read Shakespeare's play, Julius Caesar, which is based on history, and Julius says, et tu, Brute, and you, my best friend Brutus, you're killing me too. So it happens. Your lifelong friends can kill you, It happened with Julius Caesar. It happened with the Russian Jews, millions of them. It could happen in America. It could happen in Arlington. It could happen in Alexandria. It could happen in Falls Church. It could happen in Fairfax County, like that. And you'd be like asking, Lama, Lama. It'll be too late, Tom. Yeah, that's a bad thing, Julius Caesar, by the time you say et tu, Brute, it was too late. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's no one you can trust except Jesus. How do you think I love Jesus? Jesus is always trustworthy. He won't betray you. All of your friends can betray you. Even your wife can betray you, Why do you think there's so much divorce? I mean, if your wife sleeps with your best friend, that's betrayal. Why do you think people love Jesus? Because they know Jesus won't betray them. You know what I mean? Yeah, you see photographs there. I'm introducing you another one, a bachelorette from Poland. She's an artist. And I'm standing, next to the cross. I'm standing with the triptych, right? That's not her artwork. But right underneath the video, you see the triptych. That's her artwork. So she's standing right in front of her artwork. So she's an artist who did that triptych. She's a brilliant artist. She's very attractive. Um, and it was 2019, as you can see from the sign there, 2019 art show. So all the art majors, she was a Bachelor of Fine Arts major at University of Gdansk. So this is the final art show of the graduating senior art majors. Yeah, it's pretty good, right? She may become one of the greatest artists in the future. Um, and I could say she's like a bachelorette in uh, Bachelor in Poland show. Hi there. Um, yeah, and then next to her is the tree that's outside of the art museum, and it's pretty artistic, no? Protect nurses at all costs? That's a question mark. Um, and so I have three articles that I want to share with you there. Um, yeah, first article is woman with COVID-19 symptoms charged with coughing on nurse at Pennsylvania medical facility. Yeah, don't cough on a nurse intentionally. At least in Pennsylvania, there's a Tom Wolf, there's some liberal progressive, liberal progressive have this despotic streak in them. They'll arrest whoever. You know what I mean? I'm like, geez, don't arrest people just because they cough. I mean, geez, for God's sake. But you cannot suspect the kind of crazy stuff that liberal progressives will do. This is why I've never joined the Democratic Party, because liberal progressives are just crazy. Yeah, I stand by that. I'm running for U.S. Congress in Virginia's 8th District to bring the power of liberal white progressives down. Yeah, as a man of color, I'm very proud of that. And conservative. Yeah, 2 more years, baby. 2 more years, Arlington, Alexander Falls Church will be conservative. We'll be like bright red. Well, if I join the Republican Party or run for primaries. People are not slaves, people. People think, Democrats think like, oh, Arlington, Alexander Falls Church of Fairfax County has always voted Democrats, so they'll always be believe. I'm like, hey, give people a chance to think for themselves. Let them decide. Can I get a 5 or let them decide? you know. Um, so the significant quote from this is authorities say a 41-year-old Berks County woman deliberately coughed on a nurse while she was waiting to be seen at St. Luke's Urgent Care Center in Hamburg, according to media reports. Jessica Saul, like King Saul, who became Paul, um, 41, of the 400 block of South 4th Street in Hamburg, was charged with reckless endangerment, like reckless endangerment of a nurse. Disorderly conduct, just coughing on a nurse is disorderly conduct. Come on. This is why, like Tom Wolf, the Democrat in Pennsylvania, I'm like, hey, I wash my hands off of you. Um, yeah, because geez, that's just ridiculous. Um, and harassment. Just because somebody coughed on you, geez. The nurse was probably wearing a mask. Probably had a face shield in the emergency room. Maybe had a respirator even. Police said the incident happened on November 10th when she became irate that she was told to wait in her car before being seen for a COVID-19 test. People are going to get upset. You got to learn to calm people down. Jeez. Give them a moment to breathe. Are we a civil society or are we a civil society? You gotta you gotta understand how to reduce anxiety. Um, Number two, COVID-19 in Maryland, all hospital nursing home visitation prohibited until further notice, Governor Hogan says. So Governor Hogan is trying to protect the nurses, because obviously without nurses, death rate will spike. He knows that. So Governor Larry Hogan announced all hospital visitations are prohibited until further notice as Maryland coronavirus hospitalization Tuesday jumped past 1,000 for the first time since early June. I bet a lot of nurses in Virginia would want that, because nurses are pretty scared to die of COVID. So they're like worried about their patients. And they're like, we have to worry about COVID from like visitors. So if Governor Ralph Northam did what Governor Hogan did, he'll be like probably hero for like 80% of the nurses, and because they have children, so they're scared that they're going to get COVID and give it to their children. Their children are going to die. Like I don't want to go home for Thanksgiving because I don't want for any reason to like give COVID to my parents, whether it's like on my clothing, on my steering wheel, because after work I drive my car back home. Who knows what's on my steering wheel? I wash my hands, but my clothing gets rubbed on my seat, and I touch my seat. Who knows? They say COVID-19 can live on plastic surfaces like car steering wheel and stuff like that for 3 to 7 days. Some say longer than that. Who knows? I don't want to risk anything. It's not even if I don't have COVID. If my clothing has COVID in it and it gets rubbed against the plastic, it could live there for days. And I could touch it accidentally. Who knows? You can't. I don't wipe my car down every time I come home. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so my car is probably I hope it's okay. I wear clothing and drive obviously, and I wash my hands constantly. So I could be safe, but my mom could hug me, right? My mom and dad will hug me, and they can hug me, and then my jacket touch the seat, and their hands touch my jacket. You know what I'm saying? I want to be very careful here. You can't be too cautious with COVID-19, which is killing like over 1,000 a day in America. You know what I'm saying? Only the paranoid survive when it comes to COVID. Um, yeah. Um, Yeah, so look at this. Let me read it from the beginning. Governor Larry Hogan announced all hospital visitations are prohibited until further notice, as Maryland coronavirus hospitalization Tuesday jumped past 1,000. Have you been past 1,000, Virginia? For the first time since early June, hospitalizations in the U.S. surged to its highest level ever this week. Yeah, a few days ago. Uh, Governor Hogan said even with the additional 6,000 beds they provided, many Maryland hospitals are still reaching capacity. That's the problem, right? We are very concerned that hospitals in Western Maryland for example, are already at their capacity limit. 19 hospitals across the state are above 90% capacity. Governor Hogan. This is why I'm saying every state will have over 60,000 die by June from COVID-19 because hospitals are already reaching capacity. We're only in November. We have November, December, January, February, March, April, May to go. 7 more months. Article 3, it's getting scary as a nurse. UIHC nurse talks about how it looks on the front lines of the pandemic. Yeah, it says in Iowa, as of Friday night, can you imagine if your like neighbors turned on you after being friends for 40 years? Jeez, man, that would suck. Yeah. Like Julius Caesar, can you imagine like your own best friend stabs you literally after being friends for like over 40 years? That would suck. That would absolutely suck. I mean, like Harry's like, my friends would not turn their back on me after 40 years. Lion is like, you want to bet? Love. Where's the 40 years of love between neighbors? Ah, it could be thrown out overnight, for one incident. That's, people are like that, it takes 40 years to build a relationship. It takes one incident for it to be gone. Yeah. I mean, whatever that one incident is. People get pissed off for different reasons. Just think about why you get pissed off. You know what I mean? Why you drop your friends. Think about it and try to put yourself in the shoes of your neighbors, next door neighbors. you know. Um, yeah, things can change like this overnight all over America. Um, yeah, so let me just read this from the beginning. In Iowa, as of Friday night, the new number of daily COVID-19 cases is near record highs, with more than 4,000 people testing positive in a 24-hour period. With so many Iowans getting COVID-19 and needing care in a hospital, many healthcare workers are working overtime to care for COVID-19 patients. Nick Klein is in his sixth year of being a registered nurse. He says this year is unlike anything he's ever faced. We didn't really know. Yeah, that's the theme of 2020. We didn't really know. That's one of my favorite songs. Redeemer lives. Today is Sunday. Many of you went to church singing this song. I know my Redeemer lives. And you're like elated and high on Jesus. And you're like, I will die for you, Jesus. I will even kill for you, Jesus. No, 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 yeah. No, but you probably say, I will even die for you, Jesus, because I really love you, Jesus. And that's being said all over Arlington County, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County. 100 different names, nationalities, ethnic groups. Why do you think you had crusades? People are willing to die for Jesus, but also kill for Jesus. That's what crusades is all about, right? They had like 3 major crusades, but they had like several more crusades after that. So Christian devotion is a funny thing. Redeemer lives. All these fuzzy people. Redeemer never live. Who knows what they're capable of? You know what I'm saying? Who knows what the WASPs are capable of? Who knows what African American Christians are capable of because of their love for Jesus? I share that love for Jesus. So I understand where they're coming from. These lovers of Jesus. And you know, if you love Jesus, you know what I'm saying. You know, what would you not do for Jesus? You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, so yeah, let's continue on. With so many Iowans getting COVID-19 and needing care in a hospital, many healthcare workers are working overtime to care for COVID-19 patients. Nick Klein is in his sixth year of being a registered nurse. He says this year is unlike anything he's ever faced. We didn't really know. I thought I had to read that again. We didn't really know. You know? Yeah, I mean, what can you say, you know? I'm going to do a cheer for my fellow nurses. CNL 2020 Georgetown University. Yay, we graduated from Georgetown on August 24, 2020. Yay! You should Google my name and look up Georgetown. Look at all the things that I've accomplished at Georgetown. Yay, yay, yay. We will win in Jesus. We will triumph in Jesus. Well, Georgetown is a Catholic university, so I think the whole country is like Christian. You know, 300 million out of 330 million are Christians. So Georgetown is like a little picture of America. You know what I'm saying? Bless the Lord. Yeah, today's Sunday. Bless the Lord. Um, yeah, so you know, as you know, this is a daily show. So you know, I hope you'll tune in tomorrow and hear the ideas that will help you survive COVID-19 and to save your children. Obviously, you love your children, and your children is like they're like the world to you. You know, I mean, why would you not give up for your children because of your love for your children, right? So yeah, so you know, watch this show. You know, I'm gonna have some more information that will help you and your children whom you love survive COVID-19. Everything that happens during COVID-19 America. Yeah. So I hope you'll be well and your children will be well too. See you tomorrow. Bye.